Hello there, I'm Sarah Lister from Sheffield Digital, and today I'm talking to Bradley Webster, who is an SEO account manager and team leader at SEO Works. Why did you decide to work in SEO?
Okay, that's a really good question to start off. Thank you. So basically, I'd been working in the industry for over 2 years before I actually decided that I wanted to specifically work in SEO. I'd already been working in broadly digital marketing for about 2 years. So I got to experience all the different elements of what marketing, both traditional and digital, would involve. And SEO was just one of the modules that I learned about. But just in terms of how I got into it, I'd always sort of had a passion for everything creative and digital. Even like as a kid, I'd always put together PowerPoint presentations on my favorite video games. And then when I was a bit older, I actually started making a YouTube channel just playing Pokemon. So obviously they're a bit of a niche example, but I was always intrigued by like graphic design and digital and video and everything like that. So it all sort of tied together. And I actually studied creative and digital media at college. And then from that, I knew that I wanted to pursue a career in digital. I think at the time, I wasn't really sure what that meant. I think I was just always like a creative person. I always like having something tangible to show. So I wasn't particularly sure what direction. But as soon as I learned about SEO as part of my apprenticeship, it was just something that really stuck with me. It was always something that I was just really fond of. I'm a particular fan of problem solving and being creative, and I think it sort of tied them two elements together.
How did you go from working in digital marketing into SEO? Was it a sort of straightforward transition for you?
I think in a way I was already doing it. So just a bit of a brief background. I used to work at a small web agency. It did a bit of digital marketing, a bit of graphic design, a bit of software. But obviously one of those prongs was marketing. So while I was doing my digital marketing apprenticeship, I got the chance to sort of practice my skills both in-house, so doing marketing for the agency, and then the agency at the time actually provided external SEO services for clients. So I actually luckily had the experience and the knowledge to sort of put that into practice. So in a way, in my old job, I was already doing it. And then sort of the transition, I sort of realized that I wanted to do it on a bigger scale. And at that point in time, I was the only person doing SEO at the agency. And I think it sort of hit the point where I've learned all I was going to. And I think the best way to learn is to immerse yourself with like-minded individuals. And I think there's a quote around somewhere like, always surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. And that's just something that I wanted to do. And I think I've really thrived, and yeah, I think it was the right decision.
What responsibilities does your current role include?
Okay, so basically my role is defined as an SEO team leader, and that sort of it's split into two areas. So there's the sort of internal management of my team, which obviously involves like doing weekly meetings, like training new members of staff and setting up my team and being that member of them if they have a question, if they need anything, I essentially jump in. But also that's only half of my job. The other half, which I thoroughly enjoy as well, is the actual account management of my clients. So obviously now I'm at the stage I'm a team leader. I do have less clients than say an exec would, but that essentially means that they're like larger clients, and I'm more there for project management and like dictation of the strategy. And sometimes that can mean like client communications, and then other times it can mean like the actual implementation of the campaign. So other agencies might work with an account manager that speaks to the client and then execs behind the account manager that would do the actual implementation. But what I like about our company is everyone gets involved. So while I am the account manager, I also get involved in the implementation, which is my favorite part of my job.
Can you share your particular interest in SEO?
Okay. Yes, I can. So, not to be biased in the slightest, I've always had like a soft spot in my heart for technical SEO. Don't get me wrong, I love writing content. Content is something that I thoroughly enjoy. Once you've sort of researched a piece and written it and it's uploaded on the website and it's ranking, it's gaining traffic, you feel like you've done a really good job. And that's something that's really tangible. You've got the results, you can see it in front of you. But I've always had sort of like a particular interest in technical SEO, because it sort of combines two of my favorite elements, problem solving, and just sort of something that requires a bit more research and a knowledge for. While content's quite subjective, I think technical, while there is one way to do things, obviously there's different approaches to get to the end result, but there's always going to be that one end result that you're working towards. So obviously I've spent most of my time, both at my old job and my current job, practicing my technical skills, because I feel like content, it just comes with practice, and you just write and you write and then you get feedback, and it's a gradual process. Whereas technical is about learning those skills and honing them. So it took a lot of research, whether reading articles, watching videos, and just a lot of trial and error. And it's now got to the point where I'm in charge of running technical campaigns, and I provide in-house training sessions on technical SEO. So for example, I've run a training session on URL structure and another one on structured data. And being able to share that knowledge is just an amazing thing with other people, especially new starters.
So it sounds like your role is quite varied.
Yes. Yes, it's one of the most varied roles that I've ever been in. It combines obviously like in-house training. I always try and like elect myself for different things within the business. So one of the ways that I try to sort of like put myself forward is we have an internal team that do business development requests. So if a particular inquiry is above like a certain threshold, it might require a more extensive audit going forward for like the pitching process. So there's a team of 3 of us at the moment, and we put together the reports and get involved in pitches, and that's something that I put myself forward for. I'm always looking to get involved in the training, so I'm doing a training session on Google Tag Manager in the new year, which is something that nobody likes to work with. So, but yeah, and then obviously I've got the management of my team. I've got the actual implementation of campaigns, whether that's client calls, technical, content, outreach, keyword research. There's a lot going on, but it's all things that I really enjoy.
How did you get your marketing and SEO qualifications?
Okay, so basically when I was starting to finish college, there was the question floating around about what are you going to do next, and the only thing that was especially mentioned to me, well, not the only thing, but the main thing was university. And I think at that point, I didn't know specifically what I wanted to do. And university always seemed like quite a scary thing to me, because you sign yourself up and then like that's it for 3 years. So I wanted to do something which gave me a bit more flexibility, and just something which enabled me to get the real world like working experience at the same time. So I signed myself up for a digital marketing apprenticeship. In all honesty, at the time, I didn't know what marketing was. I heard the word digital and I was like, that's for me. And then they were like, do you know what marketing is? I was like, yes, I do. At the time, I did not. But yeah, that's how I got involved in my digital marketing apprenticeship. So through that, I got a level 3 digital marketing award as part of my apprenticeship. I also did a module on coding, so I've got like a little certificate in coding. And yeah, it took about 2 years. It was a mixture of training workshops, coursework, and then obviously the main element being the actual work experience. The learning side was really good. I worked on coursework, and then as evidence of my learning, I sort of had to put that practice into my work environment and then evidence it as part of my coursework. I took exams to test my knowledge. So I had a test on marketing principles and coding. And I also did a real life project where I had to hypothetically create a marketing campaign for a charity. And it was over the span of a week, and it really took everything out of me. But it was such an exciting prospect. And seeing it go from nothing to fruition was just, obviously it was all hypothetical, but having like 500 pieces of paper that you've written on, and then having like a finished document was just something that I was really proud of. And then also as part of my apprenticeship, I was able to do a vendor qualification. And one of the qualifications that were available was the CIM, so the Chartered Institute of Marketing. Unfortunately, the course wasn't actually available at the time, so I did my Google Analytics IQ instead at the time. And then when the course came available, I did 1/3 of my my Chartered Institute of Marketing. And then once I moved to SEO Works, I did the other 2 modules of my CIM in my spare time, which I think both of them, I think all in all probably took just over a year. Mm-hmm. And I think I got my results about 3 months ago, and now I'm fully accredited to in marketing. So it's been a lot of work, but I've got to say it's definitely worth it.
That's great. Congratulations on getting there. So who did you do the apprenticeship with? What was the organisation?
Cento.
Mm-hmm. And did you have some guidance on how to find that organisation, or like did you have any sort of careers advisors who were pointing you in that direction, or were you just searching it on your own?
This was like 4.5, 5 years ago. Yeah. So excuse me if I can't like remember exactly.
But that's fine.
As far as I'm aware, I spoke to the careers advisor at my college who pointed me in the direction of an apprenticeship scheme that was being run, and there was like consultancy sessions at City Hall or Town Hall, I can't remember which one it was. And through that, I sort of told them what I was interested in. And then I think it was that week they sent me the apprenticeship that I signed up for. And that was basically it. That's how it all came to fruition. So I initially spoke to my work first, and then the apprenticeship was just part of the work.
So when did you go to UTC Sheffield? What part did that play?
Okay, so I went to UTC because obviously there's 2 parts to UTC. There's obviously the school part that you can get involved like during the secondary school, and then there's like the 6th form college part of it. I finished secondary school at Bradfield School. And then I found out about this college, which was half manufacturing and engineering, and then half creative and digital media. And as someone that knew they were interested in creative, not specifically what avenue, it was perfect to sort of like learn all the different areas and then sort of just like explore them all and hone my skills. So obviously I went for year 12 and year 13. I had loads of different courses. So I studied creative and digital media, creative writing and art, which in hindsight set me up perfectly for my career today. And the modules as part of the creative and digital media course, I took courses such as like video game design, just general media, web design, graphic design, video production, photography. So everything that would be involved in creative and digital media. And I think it really set me up well for the next stage. So especially with like the creative writing classes and photography and video production, it all gave me a good idea of what would go into a creative and digital media job.
And what was your experience like there at UTC?
It was really good. It was a really sort of like flexible environment. It was full of creatives. So everyone was like-minded, everyone was lovely. And it was in the centre of town, so I was really close to Berries, which I love. But yeah, it was really good. I really enjoyed the courses. They were really beneficial. And I think like the main thing it did was just open up so many avenues.
Yeah, that sounds great. And so did you do your apprenticeship after that?
Yeah.
Right, I see. Okay, great. And what training opportunities do the SEO Works offer their employees? You've obviously already mentioned some that you've been doing on the side.
So SEO Works, we've been refining our training program at the minute. And it basically, it sets up new starters with absolutely everything they need to succeed. It includes training sessions designed for new employees, sort of like revising the basics, as well as like voluntary company-wide training sessions on like various more in-depth topics, obviously some of the technical ones that I mentioned. But yeah, it sets you out on some of like the mandatory sort of like new starter training sessions, so like keyword research, content, auditing, stuff like that. But the other thing that they do is provide opportunities for routes into the industry through apprenticeships. Like we have a rich history of apprenticeships. There's a couple of people that have worked from being an apprentice to all the way up, and myself included. Obviously my apprenticeship wasn't done through this company, but they took me on after I was an apprentice. And I think the best training opportunity they actually provide is the opportunity to work with such talented and generous people. That's one thing that I hear all the time, myself included, that it's just such an immersive environment and everyone's so generous with their time. So for example, if a new starter came in and they had a specific gap in an area, there's someone in this company that can help you get where you need to be and give you the skills and the implementation that you need to sort of put it into practice.
Mm-hmm. And just a little bit more on the apprenticeship, how do you feel that's made an impact in your career so far and to get to where you are now? Do you feel like it has made a positive difference?
Yeah, 100%. I think my apprenticeship was obviously split between learning and doing. So half the time I was learning about digital marketing, so social media, email marketing, PPC, SEO, and the other half I was actually doing the work. So obviously the main benefit of an apprenticeship is the actual real life working experience, which you can then obviously take to other jobs that you've already got work experience, so you've got something to work towards, and you've got the experience office and working in the environment that you want to aspire to work in. But the other side of it is that you're learning while you're doing it. So obviously, while my job is specifically orientated towards SEO, the knowledge that I took from my apprenticeship, even on areas that I don't work on anymore, so just having an idea of what PPC is, how email marketing works, like how social media ties in with other marketing channels, it's all something, especially when clients come to you and they're like, we know you don't do this, but what's your advice on this? It just helps you to build those relationships and just to understand how the different marketing channels work together. And I just think apprenticeships are a great route into any job role, but specifically a creative one. It just provides the means to not only learn, but to implement what you've learned. I was able to learn about SEO, implement my knowledge, and just keep going, really. It gave me the push I needed to sort of learn and then get that drive for learning and just keep running with it. So reading industry articles, reviewing gaps in my knowledge, watching videos, like practicing, failing in some cases, and then picking it up and doing it the right way.
Mm-hmm. Can you share one of the proudest moments in your SEO career so far?
Okay. Can I do two?
Yeah, of course you can.
So there are a couple of moments that I'm proud of, particularly in like the last year, but there are specifically two that come to mind. So the first one, I think I did, that was this year. So I actually spoke to schools across South Yorkshire about SEO and adopting a digital career as part of National Careers Week. So I worked with HEP SY, which are an organisation that sort of like upskill like the younger generations into working with digital. So the opportunity was essentially I introduced a wide range of children in different age ranges to a career that didn't exist when I was younger, and something that I'm sure they're aware of because everyone uses Google, but the actual algorithms and how websites rank, that's probably not something they had, that they even considered. It just, for them, it was there. And I think if I would have known about that when I was younger, it might have given me something to work towards. Just even learning about it, essentially. So that was one of the proudest moments, just speaking to schools about how passionate I was about something and actually having children ask insightful questions about my job and actually understand what I was talking about. The other one is after I passed my CIM qualification, the company that I did my qualification with, my tutor actually asked me to come back and speak to her class. So the module that they were looking at was digital techniques. So she wanted me to run a workshop essentially with her class, teaching them about SEO. So I put together a presentation and I did a masterclass in SEO, and just seeing my tutor sort of like have all these insightful questions and sort of like look at me and say that she learned something from me was just a wonderful experience, because she shared so much with me. It was nice to give it back.
That's fantastic, thank you. And where do you think is the best place for someone to start exploring SEO as a career option?
I think with something as creative as SEO, I think it's always going to be something that someone with a passion and a drive to just keep pushing, that's the sort of people that are going to succeed. So obviously the best advice I can give to someone considering a career in SEO is just do it. So like if it's something that you're interested in, like run with it, read articles, watch videos, make your own website to test what you've been learning, get a side hustle, like make your own e-commerce site, sell products, optimize your website, like just practice. And then also like attend webinars and conferences, absolutely anything you can do to get some experience and knowledge, do it. But then also the other side of it is the apprenticeship route. So it depends at what stage. If you have any sort of experience in digital marketing, it's a little bit easier to move over to SEO. But if you're sort of starting from scratch, an apprenticeship is a really good way to equip you with both the knowledge and the experience. So I guess it depends what stage you're at. But either way, I think just committing yourself to it and just learning and just like having the passion just to run with it, really.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much.
Yeah.